Hello, goddesses. Welcome to the WeWealth Women podcast. I'm your host, Athena Gardner, founder of WeWealth Women, where we help women learn to confidently manage their finances and live their best goddess life. Now, in today's episode, we're going to talk about embracing goddess energy. Okay, we're going to talk about the things that you need to do as a woman right now to embrace your goddess energy and what that looks like. So, we're going to focus on three things. Okay, and I want you guys to actually take notes. Okay, this is the type of episode you need to take notes. We're going to focus on what I'm calling the three pillars, which are setting boundaries, elevating your mindset, and narrowing your focus. So, first things first, we are going to focus on setting boundaries because I think this is the issue that we have as women have the most problem doing. And I see that show up all the time. And I'm a part of a lot of groups, a lot of women's groups, friends all the time. Even myself, up until recently, I've had to learn the importance of setting boundaries because when you don't set boundaries, and this can relate to anything. It can relate to business, it can relate to your personal life, relationships, because how you show up in one thing is how you tend to show up in everything. So, a lack of boundaries in your friendships, for example, if I see someone who has a lack of boundaries in their friendships, I already know that they probably don't have good boundaries in their romantic relationships and good boundaries when it comes to work because we bring our habits, our mindsets, our thoughts, our thinking, and our beliefs to everything that affects everything. So, setting boundaries is going to be important because it is a reflection of how you think of yourself, but also it helps you to manage your universe, your relationships. And as a woman, that is super important. It is important because what I've noticed with even using myself as an example in the past, right? Because it's not like I'm an infallible human being. I'm a human being. So I'm learning and making mistakes and correcting just like you ladies should be doing. Is what used to happen is I would just expect people to know. I would just, think in my mind, this is common sense. I would just expect people to know that this is what they should be doing or this is how they should be conducting themselves with me. And what would happen is because I never set a standard or set a boundary, that person will knowingly sometimes or unknowingly, sometimes people like to act dumb, knowingly or unknowingly sometimes cross that line. And then now they have the excuse of, I didn't know. I didn't know that this was an issue, this was a boundary, this was, whatever. And you teach people how to treat you by the behaviors that you accept and don't accept. So what would happen is you don't set the boundary, the people cross the line or disrespect the boundary, and now you're upset. Now you're angry, you're frazzled, you're upset, right? And that is a pattern that we experience when we don't set boundaries. So to take accountability, because part of being a goddess, honey, part of being a woman, if you want to rise as a goddess now, if you don't want to stay, like a regular, I want to say something else, but I can't. Can't. If you want to be a goddess, you have to take full accountability for everything in your life. Everything. Yourself, everything you own, whoever you're with, your children, everything. So part of setting boundaries is taking accountability for your part in the relationship. Part of the boundaries is to let people know how they can respect you. Part of the boundaries for you is going to be so you don't have to have these situations that make you emotional, that make you upset, that anger you, that take you off your path, that take you out of your energy. So you're actually doing yourself, not only yourself a favor, but everyone around you when you establish and maintain a boundary. Now, a lot of us can feel uncomfortable when we do this because somewhere down the line, usually in childhood, see, this is why your parents always get upset when you go to therapy because they know they had a part in some of the behaviors, right? You were taught that to not have boundaries. You were taught not to hold up a boundary because people felt like they should be able to do whatever they wanted to do. I know that was true for me when I look back at certain situations in childhood. You know, I grew up in a Caribbean household, so whatever they said pretty much went. But the downside of that is your some of your cares and concerns and your boundaries don't get respected because you're a child. So as you mature in womanhood, in adulthood, you will start to see that you have a hard time, and especially as a woman, putting up a boundary because we get those messages that you're a bitch if you have these boundaries, and you're mean and you're not a good woman. And women always want to be seen as good and virtuous and liked because we want to be liked by everybody. But it creates that situation where because we are trained on a biological but also spiritual level of wanting to be pleasing to people, we end up with the short end of the stick when we don't set boundaries. So for my goddesses, I want you guys to set boundaries. You are worthy of the respect that comes with a boundary. And I think boundaries are also good because what I have learned is it weeds out people real quick. Okay, you weed out people really quick when you set up a boundary, because guess what? It's going to weed out the people who don't really care. It's going to weed out the people who are only in your life to use and disrespect you. It's going to weed out people who don't even need to be there. So just know that when you set a boundary, you might be you might be reducing your friendship pool, you might be reducing even your family members, but over time you will experience a peace because the people that remain are going to be the people who are really for you, and that is going to be more sustaining for you and elevate you more than anything, right? So the first thing, to embrace your goddess energy, is to set those boundaries. Now, the second thing, as a goddess, you want to embrace goddess energy, honey. You want to step in full. You're going to have to elevate your mindset. Elevating your mindset is going to be the key to having the things that you want in your life. Now, in this episode, ladies, I'm going to have to be a little bit hard on us. But it's with love. It's with love. A lot of us have a dusty mindset. I'm laughing, but I'm serious at the same time. A lot of us have a mindset that is just not beneficial for the things that we want to accomplish, and we don't see ourselves. And a part of the reason we don't see ourselves is because, we have, I forgot what the psychological term for it is. It's in psychology, but we have blindness to our own faults and flaws, right? And I am no exception to this rule, but what I've always done was I've invested in coaches, in mentorships, and having women around me, people around me that hold me accountable, and people around me that aren't just yes people who are just going to let me slide on BS, who are just going to placate my feelings. And for my friends and family, they know I'm not that person either. I'm not going to be someone that just placates your feelings and just say whatever it is to make you feel good in the moment. But what that also does is builds trust. in that I mean what I say, that if I give you a compliment, it's to actually mean it. Like, I don't do fluff. So when it comes to elevating our mindsets, a lot of us don't have the things that we want, or are having difficulty with that and manifesting those things because our mindsets, our vibration, our frequency are not a match to the things that we want. Right? So how can this show up? Now, if you are a woman, I'll use an example. If you want to be, you know, in the best shape of your life, but if you think that you can't be, or if it's too hard, then you're already not putting your energy, your thoughts, your resources into being in the best shape of your life, right? That's a goal for you, right? If you have a goal of being in a committed relationship with someone, but then you're entertaining ideas and activities that take you away from getting the type of partner that you want, then it's because you have not changed your mindset, which are your thoughts and your beliefs, which will then in turn change the actions towards those things. So I'll say, for an example, right now I'm working through this book called Calling in the One, right? And it sounds cheesy. It sounds like a how to get a man, but it really is not about that. It's really about addressing your own thoughts, your mindset, and your emotions, and the underlying programs that are playing out in your mind that are causing you to behave a certain way. So in a part of the book, it was talking about being in relationships with people who are emotionally unavailable. And that has been a problem in the past. I just seem to keep finding people who are just emotionally unavailable, willing to give me everything, willing to, I don't know how much of my business I should put out there, but willing to take care of me. I'm just gonna leave that at that. Willing to do certain things, but I felt like we're never emotionally available. And then I had this think, I'm like, man, all these men are just crazy. All these men crazy, emotionally unavailable. Like, oh my God, why this keep coming to me, right? But then working through this book and realizing, I was like, this keeps happening because of me. Back to taking full accountability as a goddess, right? Elevating your mindset and taking full accountability. This keeps happening because of me. What I realized was it was my mindset. I was kind of blaming men. But what I realized is I had a thought system and behaviors and patterns that was conducive to attracting this type of man and entertaining this type of man. So in the example, I would say, all right, if you want, in this example, I want like an emotionally available partner. But as I'm dating and having conversations and entertaining men, right? If I am not emotionally available or vulnerable to see how they manage that, to see how they manage, my vulnerability, my openness, and my emotions. If within that courtship phase, I'm hiding how I truly feel, I don't feel comfortable expressing those, but the relationship is moving along, right? Then something happens that causes me to have to be very emotional, and then they don't respond in a way that is available. Then you're all up. I used to get all upset, and then I would just like break it off with the person, basically, right? In doing that book or in doing that work, I realized that part of that reason why that happened was because one, there were aspects of myself that I wasn't emotionally available either, but also I hid those sides of me in the beginning. I hid those hard to me in the beginning. Part of it is because, okay, do I trust this person with, myself, right? But also a part of it is a defense mechanism. And part of it is I'm already projecting that this person won't be able to meet my need, or that it might be too much, or they might run away or be scared, or whatever it is. But if that is the case, right, I'd rather you run early in the beginning than further down the line after spending all this time realizing that you're not emotionally available. So in that example, I just wanted to point out to you that there are things that we do that we contribute to because we haven't gotten certain things, because we haven't really elevate our mindset or changed our thinking, which in turn will change our behavior to get what we want. So now, understanding that, going into, I guess, dating, I'm more open now. I'm more emotionally available. I'm more vulnerable in the beginning because I want, if that is something that you're unable to meet, I want to see that up front. I want to see that as soon as possible. And I'm not going to keep you around if that is the case, right? So even talking about relationships again as an example, I see a lot of women just refusing to be accountable, to be held to a certain standard when it comes to men, right? When it comes to men, you want, for example, a good husband. You want a man to demonstrate certain character traits. And it's almost like acting out of desperation, in my opinion. So you're moving things quickly. We have to, there's no holdout for anything. There's no, I'm trying to find the words. There's no process. There's no taking the time because you're in this rush to get to your goal of having this good husband when you haven't really taken the time. I'm not saying things need to be on no 12 years of slave timeline, because ladies, you know how I feel about that too. I don't feel like if a man have you on a 12 years slave timeline, run. But what I'm saying is you're not, through your behaviors, you're not putting him in situations to see how he responds, if he's going to respond to you in a way that is indicative of the type of a man you want. So going back to the example I gave of having an emotionally available partner, when things would happen, I would just deal with it on my own. I wouldn't share. So like I remember I was dating this guy, and my grandmother, my uncle died within the same time frame. And I was very sad. And but we were dating for a few months at that time. And what I realized was when I brought that up, there was no empathy. There was no, he only cared about, I forgot what the conversation was. He only cared about what he wanted from me. And I was like, I let him go like a week after. I waited a week because I'm trying not to like make rash decisions. But I was like, no, you know, we need to put people in situations where we can see how they respond, right? We can see how they respond. And we need to change our thinking around that and have discipline around that. Don't give excuses to yourself and to others, or acknowledge where you are, right? I see, and I think dating and men are the easiest examples I can give, but I see, because we hope so much that we don't take time to see the behaviors on their own, unprompted, not forced, not trying to make anything happen, just to see. If you want a man that's a leader, If you want a man that takes initiative, then you need to see those behaviors up front before you commit to a relationship. If you're the one who's always planning and accommodating and doing things, when are you going to give him the opportunity to show you that he's capable of that? But then you get into the relationship and then you get upset when he doesn't show up as a Prince Charming or however you want him to show up. But during the getting to know stage, you didn't take the time, right? And a part of that is we lack discipline, we lack accountability, and we lack, emotional control and emotional acknowledgement. So, ladies, elevating our mindset. I know I use a lot of dating relationship examples, but this even goes to work, right? You're not experiencing the promotions, the raises, the opportunities you want because you don't feel good enough, right? I've seen that a lot. I remember I was consulting with this company and I had one of my former colleagues come and got her interview, got her, the job or whatever. She never negotiated a salary. She never even tried. She just accepted it. And I always negotiate. Jump off principle. I always ask, I always negotiate. So, but we don't think that we're worthy, or we just think that we should just be happy that we have the opportunity, or we have that lack mindset. So we don't want to scare off opportunity. And that translates into dating, and that translates into friendships, and that translates into all aspects of your life. So, but it requires discipline. It requires you to embrace uncomfortable situations. I've been in many uncomfortable situations. When it comes to career, work, and I embrace it because this is the only way I'm going to know. So that is something you also have to do, right? Elevate your mindset is important in order to do that. So the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to embracing our goddess energy is narrowing your focus. Okay. I don't know what is going on in the ether, but everyone I know and currently deal with, it seems like all of us on the same page when it comes to focusing on what is important, focusing on the things that are really going to elevate you, right? Really going to elevate you in this life, in this world. It could be a maturity thing. It could be getting older as well. But I'll give you an example. So this past weekend, I was invited to a conference, a women's conference, and I was actually sponsored to go. So I was listed as 40 under 40. So they picked 40 girls under the age of 40 to get this scholarship to get comped to go. So I was one of the girls. And usually, I'm so excited, or, it's an accomplishment, it's an achievement, 40 under 40. I didn't even post it up on LinkedIn or anything. I'm not really good at always self-promoting because I focus on the work, but, I need to do better with that. But anyways, I went. It was at the Ritz-Carlton in Fort Lauderdale by the beach. Lovely, fancy, glamour, ambiance, all the things that I love, full goddess mode. And I went there, I signed up. I don't know if it's because I haven't been to a networking event in a while. I've been busy just, doing the things. But I just remember feeling that it doesn't feel right to me. I feel like I don't need to be here. Champagne was flowing, hors d'oeuvres, very demure, very mindful, very considerate. And the CEO of Business Imaging, I think her name is Cheryl, I forgot, but she gave a nice keynote speech and all these things. And I remember seeing all of us, and I said to myself in the midst of all of this, I don't feel like I need to be here, right? And I signed up for the sessions, light banter with the girls, and I drove home, and I remember feeling almost relieved leaving. And it was just a strange feeling for me because in the past, right, I'm such an overachiever. I'm always doing all these things. Um, and I encourage you ladies to focus on your dreams as well, and to do your best in whatever you're trying to do. But in the past, I used to just love all what I call the show, all the being seen, and, being acknowledged and accomplishing something and being rewarded. And even that can become a hamster wheel, right? That in itself can become a hamster wheel. So when I went home, I realized I don't need this as much. I don't need the show as much. What I need is to focus on the things that really matter to me, to focus on my dreams and the things I'm trying to that really are going to bring value. That if nobody saw or nobody acknowledged me for it, I will be happy, I will be fulfilled, I will be whole with actually accomplishing it. And that is my message to you, ladies. Narrow your focus to the things that are going to bring longevity to you, the things that really matter to you, the things that don't require any kind of show. Any kind of show. So I kind of felt bad because I was sponsored to I won this scholarship to go to this conference, but I looked at the program, and mind you, these are things that are very important. It's women's empowerment. It's very important to, for certain women to go, but I was beyond that point. I don't need the show. I don't need to be filled good and pumped up. I just need to buckle down and do the things I know I should be doing. And a lot of us have information fatigue. A lot of us have knowledge fatigue, always looking for the next course or the next, being told what to do, or the next rabbit hole of information, instead of just executing on what we know already. Right? So I looked at the program, and it was talking about topics of wellness and the corporate ladder and things like that. And I said, you know what? I don't need this. Should I take these, because it was from 8 to 5, these 9 hours of this day just to feel good and sip champagne? Or I can take the 9 hours of this day, get the rest that I actually need because I'm doing a million things, right? Get the me time that I need. Put in the work for my business, all these workshops I have coming up, all these things that I have coming up, or things I'm trying to do, my podcast, everything is, the goal of the conference is woman empowerment. But what's going to empower me the most is actually doing the things and executing the things I know I need to do, versus just sitting up in a fancy hotel being told niceties and drinking champagne. Right? I can drink champagne at home. So I made an executive decision in that moment to not go and to just do the things that I know I needed to do. So ladies, sometimes we get distracted by the show. Sometimes we get distracted by needing to feel important, needing to be feel good, instead of focusing on the actual things that will make our dreams a reality, that will bring us closer to our goal, that will, advance us, right? So instead of sitting there just internalizing, for example, a workshop on how to advance in your career, take that same time to put a career strategy in place. Okay, how am I going to make 50% more income this year, or bring in more sales for my business, or how I'm going to negotiate this salary or this business deal? It's going to do more for you than sitting in a room just being told stories about how other women did it. You need to do it, right? Or if I need to my focus is to be in a healthy relationship, what am I doing? Am I putting myself out there? Am I going to places to meet people? Am I doing the inner work to address aspects of myself that might not be conducive to a healthy relationship? So we are often distracted by banter, entertainment, niceties, things to make us feel good, instead of doing the work, because you know why? The work doesn't always feel good. There's a lot of pain and transformation in the work, but you need to have the mindset of, regardless of that, because you are a goddess, you are a goddess. So regardless of that, you need to have the mindset that you are worth your own effort. You are worth doing the work for. You're worth doing the work for yourself, right? You're worth it. You're worthy of your own work. But unfortunately, what I see often is that, and I don't know, sometimes even when I'm trying to advance our own community and advance women, is to get us from here to there, to get us from the point of just wanting to feel good all the time to embracing the challenges that come with that come with the real change we want to see. Because I have to call us out. We're lazy sometimes about it. We don't want to have to do anything towards it. And that's why we have the results that we have, right? But I want to reiterate again that we're worthy of our own work. We're worthy of our own effort. We're worthy of embracing our goddess energy, a goddess mindset of accountability and setting boundaries, and, setting boundaries and elevating our mindset and really narrowing our focus on the meat and potatoes of this thing. And the women who elevate do these things. You can actually condense time and fast forward your timeline by focusing, just really harnessing your energy towards the three things we discussed, which is setting your boundaries, elevating your mindset, and narrowing your focus. Right? But ladies, if you want help with doing these things, I urge you to join my community in your newsletter, the Wealth Notes, at go.wewealthwomen.com, where you will get advice, access to me, the things that we're doing. I have a lot of great things coming down the pipeline for us. So if you are ready to embrace that goddess energy, I implore you to go ahead and do that. You can also get help, love, and support at WeWealthWomen.com. You can find out more about the podcast there. I have courses, wait lists for things as well. Okay. If this episode provided any value to you, please be sure to like and subscribe to wherever you're listening or watching this, right? And just make sure that you stay tapped in. You stay tapped into the community, because what I find that we need the most as well is support. We do well when we are surrounded by women and get support that can motivate us to continue to do this work that we need to do. But all right, goddesses, I hope this episode was well for you. Keep that goddess energy. Do not let up, okay? 2024 is almost coming to an end. I don't want you to be at, holiday time looking back about all the things that you wish you should have done. Start doing them today. And I will see you in the next episode.